Welcome to another RNE video. When do we use contractions? Well, today we are going to answer that question. When do we use contractions? We can find contractions in auxiliaries like do, the verb to be, auxiliary have, and modals like can. If you see, we only have contractions in the negative form of do and negative form of can. We will see in detail further in this video. These are the contractions for auxiliary do. Contractions are in orange color. Do not contracts like I don't. You do not, you don't. He does not, he doesn't. She does not, she doesn't. He does not, he doesn't. And finally the plurals, we don't, you don't, and they don't. I'm sure most of you know these contractions. The verb to be, we have contractions for affirmative and negative form. Once again, we have the contractions in orange color. Am, you are, he's, she's, it's. Plurals, we're, you're, and they're in affirmative form. And to be in negative form, we have the I'm not. And this is very interesting. We have two ways to contract all the pronouns except I. As we see, I am not, we contract like I'm not. So you are not, we contract you are not like you're not or you aren't. The same is for he is not, could be he's not or he isn't. And as we see, we have two ways. Don't worry, the meaning is the same. Maybe the first contraction, the first column, you're not, is a little bit stronger because we can say you're not or he's not. When we say you aren't, we have no stress in the statement. So if you want to say the contraction a little bit stronger, you can use the first option, you're not. The good news with can is that we only have the contraction in can in the negative form. We contract the word cannot, and we use can't for cannot. The good news too is that we use the same can't for all the pronouns. I can't, you can't, he, she, and it can't, we can't, and they can't. The difference with can is the T when we pronounce the T at the end of the word can't. That means that we are using the contraction for cannot. And finally we have contractions with the auxiliary have in the affirmative form. I've, we do this sound like I've, you've. Then we have the third person, his, she's, and it's, and we've, you have, we contract like you've, and they have, they've. And the negative form, we contract have not, like haven't, I haven't, you haven't. Then we have has not, like hasn't, he hasn't, she hasn't, it hasn't. And finally, we haven't, you haven't, and they haven't. And well, we have here a little problem. The contraction for the verb to be is the same for contraction for have, his. We contract he has like his and she has like she's. And it's the same for the verb to be. We have his, she's, and its. My advice to you is that you are going to use the auxiliary have. It's a better idea if you use the complete sentence. He has or she has or it has, because it could be confusing if we use the contraction for have in the case of the third person, so be careful about that. Do not use this contraction. Has no point. It's only 3 letters. We can use he has instead or she has instead. Well, in the textbooks, I took this example from Cambridge Interchange, and I highlight in yellow all the contractions that I found. All the contractions are with the verb to be, and I put in blue when they use the whole expression with no contractions. So if you see, we have 7 contractions and only 3 no contractions. The question is why? What is the condition or the rule to use contractions in English? Why the Native Americans and Canadians and Australians and guys from UK use contractions? We come back to the original question, when do we use contractions? And the answer is very simple. We use contractions always, all the time. Yes, that's right, always. The real question is when we don't use contractions, and this is the answer. We don't use contractions when we want to be clearer, or when we want to be emphatic or bossy. When we have to be very clear about something, we use no contractions. I'm sure that you have seen this banner, this sign hanging when we are on vacation and we go to another country. We find this sign on the hotels in English, do not disturb, and the local language. In this case, we can see German and French. And as we see in the bottom, we have do not disturb. It's emphatic, bossy, very clear. That's why they are not using the contraction don't. Could be easier to write don't disturb, but it doesn't sound stronger. If we want to be very clear about this kind of order, we have to say do not disturb. Now we have an example with the same expression, one with no contraction and the second one with a contraction. When an angry boss fired some employee, he could separate the words "you are fired," "you are fired." So it's very clear, he's very angry, the employee is disappointed very hard. And maybe you remember Mr. Trump back a few years ago with his TV show "You're Fired." He used to say the same phrase, but with a smile on his face. He was saying, smiling, "You're fired. Get out of here. I don't need you at all. So you're fired." So he has no intention to be very, very rude. So we can use the contraction, "you're fired." But if you're very angry, it's better if you use the whole thing, "you are fired." Now we have 2 more examples. We can see a mother very concerned with the daughter. The daughter is sick and she knows that the daughter has fever or something, and she says, "You cannot go to school today." The mother is not yelling at all, but she's very clear about the situation that the daughter is sick. So she wants to be very clear, "You cannot go to school today." If she says "you can't go to school," it doesn't sound so interesting, so important. So if we want to say a very strong phrase, it's better if we use no contractions. The same happens with the girl below. she's broken hearted, and she says, I have broken up with my boyfriend. I have broken. She separated the expression because for her it's very important. She is suffering this separation, so she's saying, I have broken up with my boyfriend. Imagine her saying, I've broken up. It's not strong, it's not important to her. So for her it's very important to say it. So he used no contraction. I have broken up. And well, that's it. Now you know that they use contractions all the time, and the only way that they don't use contractions is when they are trying to be clear, when they are trying to be strong or bossy. We can listen doing saying this kind of expressions to maybe some general in the army or lieutenant or something, or a teacher, a very angry teacher in a classroom. It's a very good idea when we don't use contractions. But when we are in the usual state that we are happy or calm, we use contraction always. Always we use contractions all the time. That's all. I hope you like it. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.